watching animations, and it's hard to abstain from giving our opinions, though we're not classically trained. But we're gonna do it anyway, so just prepare your brain. Buckle up, cause it's the smear campaign. Touch it, feel it, what you can.
Hey everybody!
How's it going?
Welcome back. It's Smear Campaign, blurring the lines between reality and animation. I'm Sam.
I'm Esperanza.
We just watched Klaus.
Ah, indeed we did.
We sure did. Esperanza, what happens in Klaus?
Oh gosh, it's a long story.
Oh man, it always is. It's always like 90, 120 minutes.
So it's about this postman, right?
Sounds like a nice guy.
And he's kind of spoiled and rude.
Oh, fuck.
Spoiled rotten.
God damn it.
And
I hate this movie.
His father, who's a very rich man in charge of the postal organization,
Of course.
I guess,
The most profitable position to be in.
gets him into postal training, and he fails his way out of it on purpose so that he can go back home to his silk sheets and whatnot.
So this guy seems like the villain of the story, right?
That's what you'd think,
He's
Sam.
just completely... You can't save his character at this point. He's a complete asshole.
He's gonna. So basically, then his father's like, you can't fail this time. I'm going to send you to the smallest, most remote island from which no mail comes, and you have to get 6,000 letters in 1 year. I'm going to cut you off.
He's setting him up with this impossible task to, force him to apply himself for the first time in his life.
You might even thank me for it.
He might even thank me for it.
But anyway, the main character is very unlikable for the first half of the movie.
Yeah. This is when I first watched the movie, that was my impression. Because, so Klaus is, a really beloved movie. And it had a lot of hype going into it ahead of time because it was, this 2D, traditionally animated movie that looked like nothing else. It has this incredible lighting and color and everything. It looks like it has to be CG, but it's not.
Oh, it isn't.
And so for me, this was a super exciting movie to watch because I'm super into that. And for the first time I watched it,
You didn't like this guy.
he started turning me off a bit at the beginning. It's like they go really hard into making him this bratty little twerp who you really want to see fail. And thankfully you do, plenty of times. But,
So this movie tricked Sam. So
yes,
all our listeners at home,
it
don't feel
fooled
bad.
little old me. Tricked
The
me.
animation genius.
Don't give me names. Don't give me titles.
So anyway, he goes to the remote land of Smearensburg, which is this tiny little island, and no one mails things, and there's just a generational feud going on in the town.
Yeah. What was the term, number one in feuds or something?
Yes, number one in feuds. So they've just been they've hated each other for as long as they can remember, these two clans, and, they just don't send any mail while they're at it, because there's no school and kids don't learn how to write, etc.
It's just a whole mess.
Everything's the matter.
Yeah, everything's the matter. Everything's wrong.
And this guy, he's cold and he's sad, Mr. Postman.
Yeah.
He just...
When he sees his accommodations, the house is torn open, there's snow everywhere, it's filled with chickens, he's got to walk across this tiny little plank to get to the bathroom.
It's so dramatic.
It's very funny.
It's very silly. And basically he's trying to find a way to get letters so he can go back home without being cut off by his father.
Yeah, the whole thing is if he isn't able to accomplish his task of sending out 6,000 letters from Smearensburg by the end of the year, his father's going to cut him off from everything, so he's going to lose whatever privileges he had in life.
And die in the gutter.
Yeah, he's going to die in the gutter. And he's a very dramatic little boy. There's a scene of him just talking to himself, being like, "No, get a hold of yourself!" Oh,
yeah. It's very Gollum-esque.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they were going for.
But anyhow,
yeah.
So he gets pretty determined. He tries to find letters around the town, but he can't. And then some little kid drops his drawing of him being sad in a tower. What happens after that?
He tries to trick the kid. He's also a really scummy guy, where he tries to pull one over on the kid, well, I can't just give it to you. I'm a postman. I could mail it to you, but I gotta get the postage first for just a penny. It's not mail if it doesn't have a stamp. That he, it's a comedy of errors where the sort of comical circumstances of different little events lead into one another, making the story kind of very clean and efficient while still being very funny. So,
but explaining it is hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details.
Yeah, a lot of the individual moments just sort of naturally feed into each other, and describing them all, it kind of makes it feel more labored than it is.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing that sets it off is eventually he has to go see Klaus in the
cottage.
He tries to find this guy who's living out away from the rest of the town because no one else wants to use a mailman. when he's there, he accidentally drops his parcel, which happens to have the picture that the little boy drew of him sad in a tower because he's kind of sad and alone by himself, which prompts Klaus to like use the mailman to deliver him a new present. And that kind of sets off the whole events of this sort of backwards Santa Claus origin story, where it's just like the most belabored ways of explaining these weird little intricacies of the Santa Claus legend, and most of them just being because the postman's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, the postman's the worst.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's got a heart of gold. He's a very lovable character by the end.
Yeah, it flips. He's doing it for selfish reasons, so he can get letters and go home, but then he realizes that he likes it there, and he's actually improved the town.
Yeah.
The truce, there's kind of a truce between the clans at some point.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's like, you know that like Christmas magic thing that people like to use on the news to fuel their political garbage?
Oh, sure.
This is like actual Christmas magic. This is like, oh my god, this is like the beauty and joy of the world condensed into this little movie. It's like, It's so wholesome and so sincere, even though a lot of it is also very funny, very like dark and sad and weird.
Yeah, like the kids go back to school so they can write letters to Klaus so they can get their toys.
And Miss Alva, who was the school teacher, who had originally, she came to the town in the same way that Jesper did, Jesper the postman. She also came to town and found that there was like nothing she could do there. So rather than continue to be a school teacher, she just went to like selling fish so she can get out of there eventually.
She became a fishmonger.
Yeah. And she's got all these horrifying fish just strewed about the school. And when the kids, and because Jesper's asking them to write letters to Santa Claus so that he can get the postage, so that he can like do his stuff, like everything feeds into each other. And because he needs them to write letters, he sends them to Alva so that she can teach them. And then she shows one of them how to write her name, and then she's like, "Can you show me more?" She's like, "Oh,
all the kids are excited to learn, basically."
It's like there's like this. It's like finding these little kernels of magic, of like goodwill and happiness that lead people to be their best selves, and it's so nice.
But there's a lot of more stuff. Like there's the little Sami girl that kind of shows up.
Yeah, there's a Sami girl who's also trying to contact Klaus, but doesn't have this like. Doesn't speak the same language, so no one really knows what she wants or what she needs. Eventually, like, they are able to, like, break that barrier and, like, give her a toy, and then that leads the Sami people to come helping Klaus, and that winds up being a sort of analog for Santa's helpers. Like, everything feeds back into this weird little Christmas Santa mythos that we've developed and kind of accepted in Western society.
And Klaus makes toys because he's a widower, and his lovely wife they never had any kids.
He and his wife were fantasizing about having a big family, and he kept making toys, and then they just never had kids because it just didn't work out.
And then his wife dies.
He didn't want to make any more toys.
So that's the movie.
So that's most of the movie. There's also like a big climax where they're all skiing and snowboarding down this giant hill to get the toys, and Jesper's like, I guess I was using you, but it was only for a little while. And they're like, you lied to us. And they're like, but we already knew that was fine, and we've got the toys right here, and this is just a pile of wood.
Everything works out.
Everything works out. It's honestly like very satisfying to watch again.
It's a good film.
Yeah, like I've seen it. This is my third time watching it.
This is my third time watching it.
Wow.
Sam, I hate you.
Nice. I accept that fully. Yeah, it's just like everything about it. I don't know. Like I feel like someone might complain. There's a couple of reviews that kind of complain about like, oh, it's just a bunch of random stuff. Things just happen to work out. It's like, yeah.
But isn't that how legends work in the first place?
Yeah, it kind of feels, even though it is very sarcastic and not taking itself seriously in a certain way, it's like, it's a very cartoony movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing about it is, like, it doesn't kind of lean away from the more absurd aspects of animation, and as a result, it's, like, much sillier than, like, your standard, like, Disney movie.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. It's probably closer to, like, a Sony Pictures movie. Like, they tend to be more gag-centric in their big-budget stuff, but also, it feels like magic. Like,
a lot of those companies actually turned down the film for being too risky, did you know?
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. I mean, it's a huge project, and
yeah.
I imagine it must have been a technical, like, nightmare having to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, it was like 10 years in the making.
Share some fun facts. Yeah.
The movie was in the works for 10 years.
Jesus.
That's a long time.
That's a lot of Christmases.
And Netflix finally picked it up last year, and it actually got 30 million views in the first month.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That's a lot. I imagine. I don't know how Netflix's
well, it's pretty
works.
Good in terms of animated movies.
Yeah.
Anyway. And there's not a lot of, like, Netflix original animated films
that
are, I don't know. It's enjoyable for all ages. Like, it is a classic, like, one of those stories that could get picked up by Disney or Pixar. For just, to be enjoyable for all ages.
Yeah.
But it's for kids, But also, anyone can watch it and enjoy it.
I'd say it's more. We watched Onward a few podcasts ago, and I'd say it feels much more mature than Onward in a lot of ways, just in terms of like the storytelling and the tone of everything.
I think Onward was just doing the most. That's my hot take.
Just
doing the most.
It was doing the most.
Too much.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on. This movie, I feel like there's just a lot of thought. Like, it probably was messy at the beginning.
Yeah. It does feel like a beautiful, like emerging from the mess is just this beautiful little gem of a movie. Yeah. Like, it feels like everything's exactly where it's supposed to be.
It hits that little sweet spot. And, of course, we had a couple of critiques.
We did. We mentioned, you mentioned specifically the one scene you hated in the movie.
I did. As we were watching it, there's a scene where there's just, like, this endearing pop song over this scene.
Yeah, like, touch me, feel me, whoa.
It's great. But also, I don't care for the song at all.
Yeah.
And it just goes on for such a long time. And then they play it at the end again.
Yeah, they play it over the credits like a lot of Disney movies do, where they have like the signature song, and then they have a pop artist sing it at the end. But they just had the same pop artist sing it in the movie and
Twice.
At the end.
And there's a little break in the middle for something endearing to happen.
Yeah.
It feels very forced.
Yeah, I think it's like, it doesn't pull me out of the movie entirely. It's just like, it would be nice if that was just like an original score, or like something that was more like made like the theme of the movie or something.
Yeah.
As opposed to the pop song, which maybe that is supposed to be the theme of the movie. It just kind of...
It's a jarring thing.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though. I mean, maybe people be liking that stuff.
I'm sure people do. They put them in there for a reason, but I agree.
Someone's listening to that on their Spotify right now.
Yeah. They're listening to the soundtrack to Klaus.
Here comes the postman.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple other moments earlier on that are more kind of like comedic, where they incorporate some pop music. That takes me out of it a little bit. Yeah. Just because it's like, it is kind of detached from everything else. But it's also funny.
It is funny.
And it's like, it's fine. I don't mind it, really. And I do like that they just have this own little, like, mini rap for, like, that's what happens when you mess with the postman. And he's swaggering off because he told kids that they're going to get coal in their stocking if they're not nice.
That is very funny. Classic.
But yeah, the themes of the movie are just so, like, wholesome and pure at the end of it. And it's like, the fact that the main character is such a scumbag for most of the movie, and he manages to have this beautiful, like, infectious, positive effect on everyone else is so nice.
It's endearing. And we could go on forever, I guess, about all the great qualities and all the silly bits. There are so many bits.
Yeah, it's so funny.
This movie is complete. They must have done a little run after the movie to just... What is it called? A gag run?
Oh, like
gag check.
Oh, yeah. What's it called? You mentioned it in the Megamind one. I forget what it's called.
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Because, like, these are less, like, gags written into the script and more of just, like, scenes built around gags. Like, I think for a lot of these scenes, the gags came first. Or I wouldn't be surprised if that was, like, obviously, like, we need to progress this movie this way. What gags are going to be in this movie? Like, how do we, like, get these gags out there? How do we, like, fit these gags in here?
Yeah, I mean, the director did say that, like, was it, like, only 40% of the movie's actually scripted?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it's ad-libbed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, like, silly,
yeah.
You know?
And you can kind of tell, too. It is a little, like, it feels a little loose with some of the dialogue, especially with Jesper, who's played by...
Oh, Jason Schwartzman.
Jason Schwartzman, yeah. He's got a lot of lines where it's just, like, he's just sort of talking about what's happening and sort of, like, muttering to himself.
He's a great voice actor.
Yeah, it's it feels very believable.
Yeah, and I really thought that J.K. Simmons, who plays Klaus, was John Goodman, because he sounds exactly like it.
He does sound a lot like John Goodman, but also J.K. Simmons is, like, really perfect for that kind of, like, big, gruff, intimidating, but also endearing.
Did you know, Sam?
What?
J.K. Simmons actually was a Santa Claus as a job before he was an actor.
Oh. That's nice.
When he was aspiring actor, he was like a mall Santa Claus.
I wonder how he feels coming right back around to that early part of his career.
I thought that was a nice little
Finally, I can be Santa Claus again.
It's all I've ever wanted.
Get me pictures of Santa Claus!
But yeah, I was thinking about how this movie is what I expected when I heard about it, when I saw the trailer. Before I saw the trailer, I thought that it was going to be one of those... You know how there's like this kind of theme in holiday movies where it's like the kid of Santa Claus or something? Or or even, not even Christmas, but like there's the Easter movie Hop with Russell Brand. Yeah. Where it's like the kid of some already pronounced.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
There's like Arthur Christmas.
Yeah.
There's some more that I read.
Where it's like, you can't, we're not making a movie about the character, we're making a movie about like having to live up to that character. Which
and it's always the kid like realizing that, oh, he does want to do this, but he has some doubts about taking on the family name or whatever. Yeah. I thought it was going to be like that. You know? I thought this movie was going to be that way, but it has the same kind of feel, but it's not so rudely done. Crudely done.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think. I don't know what like for movies like that, like Hop, which are not. I haven't seen it in a while. I don't think it's an especially beloved movie, so I don't feel bad in saying like probably not the best thing in the world. I'm sure there's the one person who's listening to these is just like, how dare you say that?
Fuck you, Sam.
About Hop.
The best film ever made. I love Russell Brand. He's my favourite actor.
My favourite actor. Oh, I am Russell Brand. How dare you?
Fuck you, Sam.
I'm just trying to enjoy a goddamn cartoon podcast for fuck's sake. Anyway, I don't know what Russell Brand sounds like. Something like that. What was I saying? Yeah, with movies like that where it feels like they're just, here's this basic outline, just sort of plug it into Easter. Oh, a movie about having to live up to your family business. Easter one.
Yeah.
Or like, and then here's a scene where he gets on stage and plays guitar because that's cool. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but this one is like, it is about living up to your father, but your father's not Santa Claus himself, because that would just be, another movie just like that.
It manages to be different enough from like, even though it is like, you could probably predict the plot of the movie from the first half hour or so, I guess.
But not all the details.
Not all the details, no.
And the gags.
Well, that's the fun thing is like, you don't really rely on that too much, because like, the characters feel very real. Alva and Jesper and Klaus all feel like sincere characters. Like, I could imagine there being a movie just about Alva, like, coming to the town and making her school there. And
the sequel's about Alva.
Yeah, we gotta have
the
sequel.
prequel, I guess.
I mean, we definitely don't need a sequel or a prequel movie. But, like, the characters feel realized enough that it doesn't feel like they're just plugging in the archetype into the story, necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a lot of personality and, like, personal touches were added in to make them feel a little more...
Plot doesn't insult me personally.
Yeah, I'm not
just kidding.
I'm not personally offended by the existence of this movie, unlike almost every other movie.
No, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I thought about the movie Arthur Christmas, because it's all about the kids of Santa Claus and how they... Oh, but I don't want to take over. One of them's like, oh, but I don't want to do this. And the other one's like, this is my legacy. I must do this thing. And it's just like, at some point you're like,
all right,
how many antics can they get in that you can't already predict, I guess?
Or like Little Nicky, where Adam Sandler plays the son of the devil. You ever watched that movie?
No.
I can't imagine why you wouldn't have watched that growing up. Little Nicky. It's, it's an Adam Sandler movie.
Thinking about bedtime stories now. Hi, Russell Brand. Sorry.
Hi, Russell Brand. We're sorry.
Also Adam Sandler.
We appreciate you listening to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russell Brand. Anyway.
We could go on and on about this movie.
Fun.
How could anyone ever hate it?
How could anyone ever hate this? Well, before we get into that, I did want to mention, like, do you have some fun facts about, like, the technical side of the movie?
Oh, yeah. So it's actually 100% hand-drawn with CGI lighting.
Even even certain parts of the backgrounds, they didn't do any CG for any of that?
As far as I know. I mean, the director said he wanted everything to be hand-drawn with CGI light effects just to see how far he could take hand-drawn animation.
It really is wild. It's so, like, it looks like, it's hard to tell. And I guess that's speaking to just the sheer quality of it all. It's like, it is hard to tell if something in the movie is CG. Because it looks like it could be, but it's also definitely not.
Yeah. And I think that was, like, the goal.
Yeah.
Like, he just wanted to see how far he could take, like, traditional animation.
Yeah. Was there something about, like, imagining if animation had developed in a world that didn't have specifically CG, alternative advancement of the industry kind of thing?
Huh. I didn't think about it.
That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like if CG didn't exist, this is what animation would look like. Because it's still got that, like, sensibility of technology and, like, getting everything to a certain degree perfect, but still using hand-drawn methods.
Yeah. Oh, and all the backgrounds are just so good. Like, they're not actually, like, solid animate, like, they don't have lines on the outside or anything.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I like the best about, like, the trees. Even when they're close to the trees don't have hand-drawn lines. They're just, like, I don't know, it's, like, very creative.
There's certain parts of it, too, like, there's the volumetric lighting that is why, like, everything kind of looks 3D in a way. There are parts of it that use less of that, and it makes for, like, this interesting dynamic between very physical 3D looking characters and flat kind of environments, which I think are very effectively used to make like every scene feel a certain way. Like every environment is the ambiance is insane.
It's like thought out.
Yeah, like if a scene is supposed to feel warm and friendly, then it's going to look like that. Like you're going to be able to tell just by looking at a single frame of it.
Yeah, like the town is all sharp and jagged.
Yeah,
to make it feel like very unfriendly.
And a lot of grays and pale.
The
whites.
Gigantic whale skeleton hanging from a building.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like, again, for being this like modern movie that has all these goofy jokes and like characters who are just ad-libbing and making stuff up. Like, it has such a sense of atmosphere, and it feels like you're really walking into a fairy tale when he's on the boat and he's like going through the mist to find Smearensburg, and then they pass this giant whale skeleton that's on the way in.
It's so ominous. Oh! It's very scary, and Klaus is kind of scary in the beginning.
Yeah, this team would do a great job with like a straight up horror movie, because the scenes that they want to be scary are like, oh my god, that's horrifying.
I guess they just have a big toolbox, man.
Yeah, they're great at what they do.
And then there's also, I guess the director just wanted to make it as unique as possible. Oh, and did you know that the little girl who plays Margot, who is the Sami character, didn't actually speak any English?
Oh.
She spoke Sami.
So she was speaking the real Sami
That's
language.
A real language. Like, it's in Norway, Sweden.
Right.
That's like a culture in those parts.
It sure is.
As I've found out from my extensive research of,
Yeah, it's set in like a fictionalized kind of version of Svalbard, which is like an island, a Nordic island, just like north of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Smearenburg was a real town in like the 17th century.
Okay.
Like a whaling post or something like that, as far as I know.
Nice.
So that's cool. I mean, he really went and looked at the culture in some aspects for sure. And the Sami people are currently experiencing a renaissance, like in the U.S.
Nice.
Because some of the Sami culture lived in Russia, and apparently some of them immigrated to Alaska and actually taught Alaskans how to do some hunting and stuff.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. And then some people are like now realizing and celebrating their cultural ties to Norway and those types of
Hopefully that all works out for them.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
I never knew about it, so I was like, oh, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So how could anyone ever hate it, Sam?
How could anyone hate it? Well, let's look into it. We're moving through this a little quicker today.
I know, right?
Because we're just enjoying the movie so much.
We're going too fast.
Yeah, this is as far as like the movies we've watched so far, this is my favorite one we've watched for the podcast. Sorry about that, God. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Russell.
Sorry, Russell Brand.
Oh my God, the Prince of Egypt. Well, we can still even talk about the spirituality and everything. We can really dig deeper into it.
Yeah, we can talk more about that. Like, they have this running piece where the wind is kind of whipping up around Klaus during pivotal moments where he's making these important decisions. And it's made kind of clear pretty, like, later on that it's his wife who died, and her kind of spirit is kind of guiding him as he's trying to find himself at this, like, final stage of his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Even it guides him toward the end of his life. Like, he sees all the snow blowing around, and he's like, I'm coming to you. Yeah. And then he just disappears into the forest and is never heard from again. I think what I like about the movie is that it doesn't... I'm going to bring up the other, like, Arthur Christmas again.
Yeah, why not?
As I always do, I guess. But
you do this in every podcast. You talk about Arthur Christmas. Fucking goddamn.
Get over it. I know you hate it.
Listen, we all love Arthur Christmas except for you, Esperanza.
But yeah, like in that movie, it's like, it's a generational thing. Yeah. This movie doesn't say, the tradition is carried on every year, forever and ever and ever. There's really, like, no explanation for it, which is cool. Like, at the end of the movie, he's like, I don't know how it happens, but every year after Klaus has disappeared, there's been gifts.
Yeah. Every year I get to see my friend.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
that's like the ending line of the movie.
Yeah, it's like the magic is real. Doesn't matter how it works, but to me, all it means is that I get to see Klaus again, because that relationship is important.
Yeah, like, imagine if it was like, and then he had a son, and then the son carried on the... Like, come on, man.
It takes away from the mysticality and, like, the magic of it all.
I think the right way to do it is just not to force any of our weird societal norms on a legend.
Yeah, it feels... I don't know, is the company or, like, the person who made it... Like, who's the guy behind the story? Director, the developer?
Oh, his name's, like, Pablo Sergio or something.
You know where he's from?
He's from Spain.
Okay. It does feel...
From Madrid, actually, just like I am.
Wow.
Goals.
Goals to be from Madrid.
I'm literally the same.
Wow.
What can I say?
Wait a second, Esperanza, did you make this movie?
I made this movie. That's why I care about it so much.
Now I feel kind of weird for talking about it. Sorry about that whole pop song thing. I didn't realize.
Actually, that was me singing.
Oh.
Go follow my cover channel.
Wow. Esperanza really making her way in the world. But it does feel like there are certain kind of rules of more Americanized stories that just aren't really present here.
Yeah, I mean, this one has, like, silly jokes, like, modern jokes and whatnot, but it's not like Sergio Papalos. I said it the wrong way.
Okay.
Oopsie.
How dare you. It doesn't feel like it's forced to follow what a movie's supposed to be. It feels like it's allowed to be its own thing. And it's so confident in what it's doing, and, like, the actual, like, method of storytelling and the kind of, like, presentation that they're going with, they're so good at.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this excellent thing you're not going to get anywhere else because we made it.
Yeah, and no one's ever going to see it. No one's ever going to see another movie like that, I guess.
Unless they make another one. Hopefully they do.
The sequel.
Yeah.
About it.
Or just another movie.
Yeah.
A studio doesn't have to always make sequels. But I guess they could, if they really wanted to. The next movie is just called Rab. It's about the Easter Bunny.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a shortened version of Rabbit.
You know, that doesn't sound that bad. And it was like, if it's all like talking animals, that would be kind of cute, man.
Yeah. I mean, I would trust them to make it. I don't know if it's a great idea, but, you know, this is just like, what if we really over-explained Santa Claus? And they did that, and it turned out great.
Yeah, the second movie doesn't have to be as good as the first. It's only like Kung Fu Panda 2.
Only Kung Fu Panda 2, which is an interesting bit of foreshadowing on your part. Tune in next season on Smear Campaign.
I'll never say anything.
Anyway, so before we, get too ahead of ourselves enjoying the movie, let's read some really negative reviews.
Yeah, what do we feel?
There weren't a lot. It's got like a 96% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, but I found a few negative reviews. You want to start the first one?
Leonardo F gives it 1 star. He says, best animation movie I've ever seen. Okay.
And that's it. I don't know if he scored it wrong or if this is just him saying...
that's half a star.
Half a star.
Wow.
The lowest possible score.
All right, Leonardo.
The best one he's ever seen. He's got some high standards.
That's fine, man.
Anjum K gives it 2.5 stars. The main problem with Klaus is that main character was overshadowed by what and who goes around him, and this makes the movie less memorable and more trivial.
Huh. What do you think about that, Sam?
I don't think it's true. I mean, I don't know. I can understand feeling like... Because Jesper's not, like, the most engaging part of the movie, but at the same time, the movie is very engaging.
Yeah. I think the shtick is that he, like, changes the world around him without even noticing or trying to.
He stumbles into, like, that role.
And, like, the line they all say throughout the movie, which is, like, one act of kindness always sparks another.
Yeah.
Like, every character says it at some point. I mean, not every character, but...
It's brought up a few times.
People say it.
Yeah, that's like the thesis of the movie.
They do be saying it.
They do be saying it these days. Those Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, it's like the moral, like, even if you're not really trying to do anything...
Yeah.
If you do something kind for someone, they're going to do something kind for someone.
There's a little conversation between Jesper and Klaus earlier in the movie where Jesper's trying to, like, kind of talk down Klaus's positive outlook on people. Saying like, people they're always in for something. Like that winds up foreshadowing when it turns out that what he was in for was also not pure. They sort of like say, no, not necessarily. Like sometimes things just get better because people do good things.
And people can change.
People can change.
Anyway, it feels like maybe, at the beginning of the movie, it may feel trivial because there is a lot going on and he doesn't really give a shit about anything. Excuse my French.
Oh my God, did you just swear on our podcast? How are we supposed to get the family crowd in now?
We're talking about ethics and morals here, Sam.
Oh, no.
And I'm giving education.
Well, Jack M gives it... Oh, your turn.
3 stars. This is not a bad movie whatsoever. In fact, it could have been really good. Tell me more, Jack McGowan.
Nice to know. Oh, my God. You just doxed him. This person that nobody listening to this is going to know.
The problem with this movie is it isn't a complete movie. Scenes that need to be in the movie aren't in the movie.
Oh.
For instance, the letter at the beginning of the movie never was important. The old man's character arc seemed to change in about 1 scene. I could have liked it a lot more, but it just isn't finished.
The letter in the beginning is sent...
The old man's character arc. It's the name of his name is the name of the movie. What the heck?
The old man, whatever his name is, that Kringle band.
That guy.
Yeah.
Come on, Jack.
But, like, the letter in the movie, at the beginning of the movie, it starts by saying, like, a simple letter can change everything. This whole story started with 1 letter. There was a letter telling Jesper to, like, go to his dad, which eventually led to him being sent to Smearensburg, which set everything off in motion. So it's like, that was the inciting incident.
And also, 1 letter can change everything. 1 letter did change everything, like, several times in the movie.
Yeah, that kept happening in the movie.
Like the first letter of the little boy who's stuck in his tower, and then the little Sami girl who finally learns how to write her letter, and that makes Klaus decide to do the whole Christmas thing once and for all. And her whole family comes to help, and then, it's a whole thing.
I just like the confidence of Jack saying, like, well, it would have been a good movie if they included scenes that they didn't include, but the scenes they did include weren't enough. It's like, I don't know about that.
It's interesting.
I feel like that was just, like, his personal experience was just like, I felt a little weird about some things.
Yeah. I think if you don't give in to the plot completely, it can be annoying, I guess.
Yeah, whenever you're, like, looking at a movie and being like, this isn't perfect, then it's going to be harder to enjoy it for what it is.
Like, this is a kid's movie for kids.
Yeah.
A dumb kid's movie, and it's too busy and trivial.
It's too stupid for my liking. JBB gives it 2 stars. Slow and boring. Needs better pacing.
Oh. But the other guy said it was too busy.
Yeah.
And everything's just overshadowed by what's going on.
I thought this movie moved at a good clip.
I would say a lot happens in even just 1 minute.
Yeah. But also, like, if this person found it boring, I don't know that you can, like, rationalize around that. It's just like, oh, okay. I guess you don't like it then.
I guess if you can really predict everything that's going to happen, you'd be bored.
Yeah, like, he's going to find the value of family and found family, and they're going to find a deep connection of doing good and providing for their community. Ugh.
I think you and I might be in the sweet spot.
I think that
we take the movie for its art.
Yeah.
And partially for its plotline. And don't try to predict or call it dumb.
There's no way to, like, make a movie that everyone's going to enjoy, no matter how, like, technically good it's supposedly.
Unless we're watching Onward. Then we're very harsh. Very harsh indeed.
Then we're the assholes who don't get it.
We really had a problem with it.
We did.
Or I did.
We kept talking about it afterwards. And we're talking about it now.
I think we were just in a bad mood.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway.
I'll never take it back.
I'll never apologize.
Jaxer W gives it 2.5 stars. Delightful animation, but severely lacking in many respects. The narrative is incredibly formulaic and by the book. Nothing about this movie is particularly inventive or memorable. Passes the time, but leaves you feeling empty, if not a little bored. Interesting. So he built upon what the previous dude said. Were they good animation?
It takes a village to hate a movie.
Yeah, I guess so. It's because it says it's incredibly formulaic, which, as we were talking about earlier, I liked it because it kind of went away from, although it can be formulaic.
Yeah, it depends on what formula you're looking for. Because, like, there's a lot of elements of movies where it's like, oh, well, now you put this in, and now you do this, and now, like, this leads to this. And there's also things where it's like, oh, this story is about this, so this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. And if by formula you mean trope, then yes. I don't know what a plot would be without, like, a trope of some kind, which is, I guess, is a formula.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
They're all just sort of saying the same thing in different ways.
Yeah, they all got a little bored because they could predict it, I guess, which is exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah. Andrew H. gives it 1.5 stars. After only 25 minutes in, I felt like Netflix should just stack to making TV shows. The animation character story on here just aren't my cup of tea. Sorry to the devoted fan base.
This is like an edgy lad.
Yeah.
He's like, you have to have an opinion on things that are popular.
Yeah. It's very important to have opinions. That's the thesis of this show. It's very important to have opinions. But, or maybe he's just terrified because he's like, everyone here likes the movie, but I didn't like it at all.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Don't hate me.
I just hate it.
Don't sick J.K. Simmons on me.
Can't keep my thoughts in my head. You need to know.
It needs to be said.
It's not that great. I'm sorry, but...
Now it can be shown.
Just aren't my cup of tea. Fair enough, Andrew.
Yeah, happens to the best of us. Ooh, 3 out of 5 stars. The first half hour of this, give or take, you would not have thought this was a Christmas movie at all. Sort of a Santa origin story with some changes. No Mrs. Claus, no North Polar elves. It was an interesting take on it, I have to say. The little Sami girl reminded me of a white version of Lilo that's well behaved. Oh gosh. Plot-wise, you get your usual predictable ending, but overall, it's a decent Netflix stream.
See, that one line is why I decided to pick this up, which...
Oh, God, dude, that's awful.
What do you mean?
What the fuck?
It's kind of like Lilo, except for white and well-behaved. It's like, so it's a little girl.
It's just a little girl.
It's a little girl.
She looks different. She acts different.
Yeah, I don't know why she would...
Question mark?
I don't know why... And this person is completely anonymous, so we can't, roast them for anything like their name. But I don't know. It's just a weird connection. Just feels like someone was thinking about Lilo and Stitch and then watched this movie and was like, little girl.
Yeah.
little girl in another movie. I know.
Girls.
Girls just want to have
They're
fun.
all the same, Sam.
You know, you keep saying it, and I'm starting to believe you.
Oh my gosh. I think I
You're
understand
radicalizing me.
I don't understand the well-behaved white version, but
that's
like
not the best
nose is
look.
kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like the eye shape too.
Yeah, there's a certain like
And like the
style
roundness
to
of the
the style of Lilo and Stitch could be compared to like some of the characters in this. The style in this movie is kind of like all over the place in a very good way.
Yeah, everyone looks different.
Yeah, there's like a lot of variation, but all the characters are like you can tell who they are just by looking at them.
Yeah, they all have like very different body shapes.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
And like that, something that I appreciated was like the faces were very structured and angled in a way where it was like still very cartoony and like simple like designs, but if they were ever at a certain angle, you could see like around their eye ridges, and like there's a lot of dimension to the way they position the faces, especially for the older characters.
Yeah, and for emotions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like when the guy cried, and you could see the tears like go around the shape of his face.
Yeah, put a lot of work into like making the faces still stylized, but like having that extra bit of dimension.
It's good quality stuff.
Yeah, but I guess it was all just like kind of like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like the white version.
But like the white version.
Why does it
is
matter?
Is it weird for me to say that it's like a white version? Like, yeah, it kind of is.
It kind of is weird, dude.
Kind of weird, Anonymous.
But some people they didn't care for it that much.
Some people didn't. Pretty much everybody loved this
everyone
movie.
loves this movie.
It's a hugely like positive rating.
Yeah, we're not unique at all in our.
No, we're not saying anything. We're not saying anything new or valuable or worth listening to or anything like that. But,
not at all.
But here we are.
You can log off, guys.
You know what I do want to say, because this is something that I got more of a feeling for this year, because for Christmas this year, with all the coronavirus situation, couldn't go home for Christmas. So you visited people for Christmas. I
very small gathering of folks.
Small gathering, very responsible.
Very responsible.
Very reasonable association.
Nobody cancel me or dox me, please.
Yeah, please don't. For all the people out here just waiting for us to cancel ourselves on this podcast.
Don't call my free internship.
Yeah, you gotta listen to the podcast first. Good luck. But what I did, I stayed here by myself and watched all the old Rankin Bass stop motion Christmas movies. Which is it was fun. It was fine. But these movies, you didn't watch a lot of these growing up.
I saw Rudolph and Frosty.
I've seen a couple of them. The one I'm most nostalgic for is Rudolph's Shiny New Year, which is absolutely bonkers. But a lot of these movies are about sort of like creating the myth of Santa Claus. Like Santa Claus is Coming to Town is all about like the origins of Santa Claus. And it hits a lot of the same notes as this movie, at least in terms of like the basic elements. Like the main character in Klaus is a mailman and Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, it's a story about Santa Claus, and each one of these movies has like a narrator who starts the movie and like frames everything and sings some of the songs. And the narrator for that origin story for Santa Claus is a postman. And he's got sort of a similar vibe. I wouldn't be surprised if they took some of the style and design and kind of like reimagined certain Rankin Bass stuff. Because there's also this running theme in a lot of those old Rankin Bass movies, whether it's that Santa Claus is Coming to Town or Jack Frost or like a few of the other ones, where there's like a little village that is in despair and it's like the saddest world, and then the magic of Christmas brings it together and like brings everything out. This kind of feels like a modern reimagining of that mythos.
So what you're saying is no idea is truly unique. We're all gonna die alone.
Yeah.
I get it.
Pretty much. I just think it's cool because it's like Rankin Bass Christmas movies are these like iconic, most people, not Esperanza excluded, of course. A lot of people are very familiar with them to the fact that it's like, oh, this is what Christmas is. Like we don't even question it. Even though those movies are absolutely ridiculous and hilarious and bizarre and like really mean sometimes. Like Rudolph is such a mean movie.
Yeah, it is mean.
Every character's like, you fucking freak, get the fuck out of here. A dentist, we hate you and your kind. It's like, that's the whole movie. But yeah, it just like, it's a weird modern myth that this feels like it's taking that aesthetic and taking a lot of other aesthetics and sort of using that to create something new and fresh with it.
Yeah.
Which I like a lot. I'm
really
super
liked it,
fond of this movie. It's got to be one of my favorites at this point.
I have to say, like, I liked the fact that they really, like, they kind of dug into the culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel disrespectful.
Yeah, even though, like, the actual, like, Smearensburg is more or less made whole cloth from just like this cartoon scenario of like these feuding families.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it never feels mean, even though the characters are really nasty.
Yeah. Oh, did you know that the Sami is like the oldest culture in Norway?
I did not.
So that was cool. But that was just a side fun fact that I know.
Yes.
I thought it was cool because the movie dates a while back, but all the clothing they have is like their traditional folk clothing and stuff, and even the costume that they make
the big hats
Klaus wear at the end.
Yeah.
And everything. It's nice to see.
Yeah. It's nice, like including that in a movie. You want them to do a good job, and they do.
But
as
not
far as I
only
know.
that, it was also like of course, like the wind is his wife's spirit, basically, but a lot of their religion back in the day was based on like the environment, the elements and stuff. So like the sun and the trees and the wind, etc.
For the Sami people?
Yeah. So a lot of like from what I know, of course, I'm no expert, so
you did look up some fun facts before we started talking, but
I did.
We don't claim to be experts.
Yeah, no, I'm not a professor or nothing.
Yeah.
But I read a little bit about it, and I thought that it was cool that there are like forces of the environment there, and I don't know if it's on purpose, like a callback to the what they used to practice. It was like shamans who could connect with the spirit world, and it was like evidence of the spirit world was in nature, basically. So I thought that was cool because the snow is like representative of his wife who is dead, but she's still with him.
Yeah.
But it's not too like forward about religion or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really. It allows it to just sort of be a sort of force in the movie.
Like you said, your mom thought that
Yeah. So the first time I watched it by myself, and I was like, "Oh, this is a really good movie." Then I watched it again with my family over Christmas last year, and I was like, "Oh, I really like this movie." And there was a point where the wind was kind of guiding him, and I was like, "That must be God. That must be Jesus."
Jesus himself.
And I was like, I don't think that's what they're going for. But at the same time, it's like it's vague enough that if you wanted it to be that, sure, why not?
Why not?
Like it's
exactly. That's what I mean. It's like it's not too forward about the religion thing, but it's obvious.
Yeah,
it's made obvious that it's like a spirit of some sort.
Yeah,
because it's very intentional. It's doing
like,
something it wants to do.
It has a clear effect and impact, but not a clear origin.
Oh, it's like the water in Moana.
Just like in Moana.
I love that movie.
It's just like in Moana. The movie has so many other little things that I don't even know if we will be able to get into most of them, but like the fact that he hangs birdhouses all over the place.
That is nice.
It's like he says it's because his wife loved birds, and it's like, but also his wife communicates to him through the wind. It's like you could imagine him just being out there waiting for his wife to kind of like blow through the birdhouses.
Yeah, they make like wind chime sounds.
Yeah.
It's like that wooden wind chimes make.
Yeah, just like our wind chime who keeps driving by on the green line.
We love the train.
We love our train.
Don't tell the viewers our location.
Oh, yeah. They can't know.
The Green Line.
Green Line? That could only mean one place.
Greenland?
Greenland?
Oh my god. As you were saying. The wind chimes and the birdhouses, etc.
Yeah, just little things like that where it's like, oh, it's so like, if like you can feel, like how we mentioned with Kubo. It was like, it felt like there was a lot more of that story that they could tell you if they had the time. And I feel the same thing with this, where like there's a lot of elements that have meaning within the movie, but could also like be further explored if we had the time to do that. But because it's a movie, you can only really say so much about them. Yeah,
and people would have to do their own digging, basically. Yeah. That's what we're here for.
We're here to do the digging in a very sort of surface level way.
In gents and they thems.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here to help you with. We're providing a service, and we think it's about time you start giving back. We've set up a Patreon for a very select...
Russell Brand, I know you're listening.
Russell Brand. We know you'll be the first one on the Patreon.
Get Adam Sandler in here.
Yeah, get your buddy Adam in here. We've got some things to say.
I have an opinion about the movie Click. Is that what it's called?
That's one of them. That's what Click is called.
Alright, we're not going to talk about that.
Doesn't matter. It's not important.
What else is like an intentional or a thing that you think could have been developed upon further? The history of their feud. Yeah,
well, the history of the feud is fun. They go through both sides go through their own version of the history, and it's more or less the same, just claiming themselves to be superior. And it kind of speaks to this feudal nature of pointless conflict and hatred and disdain.
Yeah.
And
but they don't even say that they're better than the other. They're just as far as we know, for as long as we've known, we've always hated each other.
There's the guy, I forget what they're called.
The Ellingbows.
The Ellingbows. Mr. Ellingbow occasionally was like, which we won by, every time they talk about something, he talks about it on radios.
I missed that.
Even though he's a little, he's very much a dopier, head of state than
a chunky lad.
the crumb lady. Yeah,
We love him.
a lot of good chunk of the movie. A lot of good chunky chickens.
For sure. Oh, those chickens, they're so chunky. Yeah. Amazing.
We got the giant children.
Never been done before.
Yeah.
Show stopping. No, yeah. What I like is just how dramatic all the characters are. Like, it doesn't matter how they're designed. It's just they really do. They push their limits and their sizes and stuff. Tell their character.
Yeah, they're all very intentional with the way that they move and talk and act and.
Klaus is just this huge dude. He's so large and scary.
Yeah. It's just when he is riding up with Jesper the first time, and Jesper's crammed into the very edge of the carriage.
Yeah, and
he gets out.
His whole body fills the seat.
Yeah, and he gets out, and Klaus is still taking up the entire seat.
It's very silly. Yeah, I mean, it's dramatic.
Yeah,
it's very.
And that's one of those things that's one of the great things about animation. And specifically, this 2D animation lends itself to a certain stylization that CG is only kind of catching up on. Now they're making movies now that are CG and are intended to look more like 2D, like the Peanuts movie and the Captain Underpants movie.
The Peanuts. All right,
Peanuts.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Someday. But there's a certain unreal aspect to hand-drawn animation because there's no rules. It doesn't exist in the 3D space, so you can do whatever. And the technology to try and emulate that in 3D is in itself really impressive. But there's something just so naturally, I don't know, it's magical.
Yeah, I would say
blurring the line between reality and animation.
Here we are with our 3D lighting and our hand-drawn animation and backgrounds and whatnot. But I would say that this film, for me, is probably the most reminiscent of The Emperor's New Groove. Because the character is so unlikable.
Yeah.
For the most part of the movie.
It does hit a lot of the same beats. And it is the fact that it's so focused on the physical cartoon comedy, which Emperor's New Groove is one of the only Disney movies that's really
just filled with gags. It's so silly.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that pretty soon.
Yeah, I just think about the little squirrel tying the balloon animal and popping it. Just to tease him.
It's just there to setting up gags.
It is very silly.
Yeah.
Everything's silly. Anyway, but I'll stop.
We'll
have to talk about that.
We're going to get to that.
We'll talk about that another time.
Any other thoughts?
Gosh, I mean, in summary, it was a good film. Y'all should go watch it.
I liked it.
It was, if you would rate this movie out of a 10, what might you give it, Sam?
I'd rate it a 10. That's everything I want it to be.
No, I agree.
The pop songs could be a little distracting, but I don't think they're enough to
So a 9.8 then?
No.
No.
They're not enough. It would be a 0.0000.0%.
So they make up 2% of the movie?
No, I would not. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I might give it a 10 as well.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of the things that I found to be formulaic or trope-like to be any, I still watched the movie for the third time and I was I saw stuff I didn't see before.
Yeah.
Even the gags just keep me busy.
There's a shot where the sailor man was voiced by Norm Macdonald, which I didn't even mention, which he does a great job. Yeah. He's always fun. It's just that monotonous voice or monotone voice is just so fun. But there's a shot where he's just describing something and then a cannon appears in a house in the background and then it shoots another house.
Oh, it's so
silly.
Just
there's so many gags everywhere.
Yeah, and the third time watching the movie was the first time I noticed that.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe I'm just simple-minded, not like all you lads at home who notice everything the first time.
Listen, all you Angems and Jacobs and
They're
Jackses.
I predicted that. I saw that coming, okay? You can't surprise me anymore.
I predicted they were going to be using a cannon in that scene about 3 minutes into the movie. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And I watched this when I was 2.
So that's definitely not me.
I don't know why we're creating these antagonistic fans when we don't even have anyone listening to the podcast yet.
Yeah, and everyone.
I guess we're setting ourselves up so that we'll always be impressed if we get any positive feedback.
Yeah, if we even get one person to listen to this podcast, I'll be.
Besides Russell Brand, because we don't really care what he has to
that's
say.
Canon. Canon.
Yeah.
Just like the canon.
Oh. That's why the canon was there.
It's canon.
So what are we going to watch next time?
Want me to pull up the list?
We got a list. We've been kind of adding to it.
Where the heck? Russell, you can give us a suggestion in the comments.
Yeah, Russell. And listen, if you're out there and you're not Russell Brand, we don't need to hear your suggestion.
Yeah, get out of here.
We're looking for Russell-only suggestions.
All right, so that's the list. What are you feeling? Oh, and The Emperor's New Groove is on the list.
Right.
But it's not formally.
Want to watch Over the Garden Wall?
Sam.
It's a 10-episode miniseries.
I thought you'd never ask.
It's the best. It's another thing that we both already know we love, so it's just gonna be another one of these.
Sorry, guys.
I wonder if anyone dislikes that. I feel like that every time.
What?
Like,
Passion?
finding negative reviews. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sure someone dislikes it.
Someone
They're like,
hates it.
We'll talk about that.
Bunch of trash.
We'll talk about that another time. So, Over the Garden Wall.
Over the Garden Wall next time. For all of you listening along at home, make sure to watch it before we talk about it.
Yeah, it's only 100 minutes long.
Yeah. It's like, it's no longer than a
10
feature
episode
film.
show.
Yeah.
It's do it.
And it's better than most things that are in the world. So,
Not biased at all.
No, we're going to go in purely objective review.
But anyways.
Guess that's all we have to say, so, bye.